Okay, up next we have Mouse Belt, Galen.
All right. Hey, everyone. This is Galen Danzinger here. I'm the CTO at Mousebelt. And we have really been looking at, so first, I guess, some background information on us. We are a blockchain-focused accelerator. We run an educational program. We have engineering services. We're really focused on how we can bring more users recently. And one of the biggest issues that we see is usability. So we've tried to target this in the past. We've run educational programs. We tried to get people in different colleges into developing, working on Ethereum, the blockchain ecosystem in general. We've invested in projects. And we really believe that just the difficulty in usability and the general challenges with onboarding new users will make it really difficult to bring the next million wallets or the next billion wallets on board. So this is actually what we put forward as a challenge in ETHDenver. And I'd like to talk about some things as well that I've seen that worked and haven't worked. And maybe if you're working on some of these, feel free to approach Mousebelt as well. So we think there are many users right now that have used blockchain and cryptocurrency wallets and systems in the past, and they're using them more. They're getting involved with DeFi. They're doing all of these things that are very complex. But this isn't pulling in first-time users. A lot of these applications, you're interacting with one contract, you're getting some wrapped Ethereum, you're getting a stable coin, you're lending them out, you're putting them in pools, which are a complicated instrument in themselves. It's very challenging for a new user. And just a personal anecdote, as I had sent some relatives, friends, cryptocurrency for them to use, a lot of them had very serious trouble with that. One relative I'd sent some cryptocurrency to a few years ago, when the price spiked up, Ethereum was at 1,500, Bitcoin was at 40,000. They decided they wanted to sell it, but they lost their wallet and their seed phrase. They're asking how they did that. Fortunately, I had to tell them, this is irrecoverable. You have no way to access this money. And it was just surprising to them. They came from a background where they were using banking apps. They were using all sorts of, or rather, they're using all these centralized systems that are pretty forgiving. You can call support. Someone on the phone will talk you through it. You sort of know what you're getting into. Here, you could set up a wallet and maybe you just lose all your money. Another personal anecdote, I had told a friend about cryptocurrency, and they bought some Ethereum. They're trying to buy tokens. They're trying to interact with different smart contracts. And at one point, they got a transaction stuck from just a not high enough gas fee. And their wallet actually didn't support changing a gas fee. So they had to figure out how to download a separate wallet and increase their gas fee on like a third-party application. They're doing all of these things. They're hitting me up trying to figure out how they actually just move their money around. And a third one, someone spent like 20 minutes trying to set up MetaMask and just couldn't figure it out and gave up. So these are some things that they're both sort of user experience solutions to, but they're also just some more, you can actually use some tricks with smart contracts, with blockchain systems themselves to get around these kinds of problems, make it easier for people to use. And they're even many more ideas than this. So if you have something cool, I encourage you to tell us about it in the hackathon. So this isn't to say that there have been no UX improvements or no improvements in working with blockchain so far. If you think about the very early days when people were mining Bitcoin, there are so many people with stories about having a wallet on their hard drive in some encrypted wallet.dat file or something like that, where they had 5,000 Bitcoin or 10,000 Bitcoin that they lost. The systems have come pretty far. The whole concept of a seed derivable from a mnemonic was a great innovation, rather than just having a file on a hard drive that if you forgot to back up or forgot the password, that was gone. You were able to derive a private key from a seed, set of words. That's although it is still very cumbersome for a new user, that represents a huge improvement of experience rather than managing backups or losing all your money. They also, the concept of a hardware wallet sort of enshrines a bunch of best practices in just how you send your money. They make it, well, you shouldn't expose your seed to the internet, or you should be very careful in how you handle a seed. A hardware wallet really prevents you from doing many bad things. You can still lose a wallet, have the key exposed, or the seed that exposed that you use with the wallet, but it gives you a easy to use way to send money and a more long-term backup with a seed phrase. Additionally, the concept of wallet providers. MetaMask in the browser is a great system. They've done pretty good things so far. However, it does take a very long time to set up properly. Implementing wallet providers has really improved the experience there. So you get other wallets. There are wallets that are more centralized. There are just different options. There's phone-based wallets. The Wallet Connect ecosystem has really helped give users some more options there. And finally, there are some wallet contracts that have come out, and just new ways of interacting with money. And they offer users a little bit more compromise between more centralized systems and decentralized ones. They give them a little bit more power in how they send money, and they add risk controls as well. Things like your bank might have, where maybe if you wired half your money out of your bank to someone, maybe they might give you a call that might stop you because that looked like a kind of odd transaction. Now, there are still many complaints. It's really difficult to use, especially for these first-time users. There's little or no room for mistakes. If you do something wrong, maybe you have a pending transaction that you can't figure out how to stop until it gets evicted from a mempool. Maybe you have, maybe you sent your money to the wrong place. Maybe you wrote down something wrong. It's kind of confusing, especially many of these DeFi projects. It's hard to figure out how to interact with them for first-time users often. And the fees are a little bit erratic and a little bit high. So what I want to talk about first, about how maybe we have ways to solve these for users, and solve the problem in general for fees. So first, for fees. Here's a visualization actually of all the active Ethereum addresses, and we can see there's way more people using Ethereum right now than there has been in the past, except for the 2018 spike. And there has been a pretty steady growth of users in the last year. However, there's also been a pretty steady growth of fees. And just some notes about fees that a user might experience as they start to use a blockchain system. So cryptocurrency transaction fees in some cases and many times can be cheaper than their centralized counterparts, but not always. They have a really huge amount of variance. We have, while a bank, you might know exactly how much money you're going to pay, although it's kind of high sometimes. On a smart contract, you could have a really erratic fee. And if you set the wrong value, your transaction just won't go through at all. So here's a visualization, actually. Here are, in the past 3 or so months, here are all of the network fees. And we see there's been sort of a steady climb, especially as the price has boomed through January. But Ethereum is very, very erratic. It's gone from a little over $1 to as high as $26, which is definitely a really high amount of variance. Now, I'm going to, just for reference, I'll put up the outgoing wire fees charged by my bank. Just overlay that right here. Now, this is, in many instances, much higher. But at least I know what the value is. And for a sort of novice user incoming, if you were to tell them, you have to set the fee value correctly. If something gets messed up and you set the wrong value, your transaction will just get stuck. But the fee is going to be some number between like $1 and $22. Your wallet will probably get it from an API. That's possibly not the best experience for them. So it's often very nice to find a good way to predict a fee and have mechanisms for users to adjust that if they need to. Additionally, fees are also very high. While interacting with a smart contract for like $1 or a few dollars is very palatable, if a user were paying $20 each time, that starts to get very painful for many users who are interacting with a smart contract. Especially just sending money. Every time they transferred money with alternatives like Venmo, like other centralized apps to send money, a $20 fee is pretty high. However, as developers in the blockchain community, when we see a problem, we don't let anything stop us. We just keep working at it. We keep working at it. We try and find a solution to make our users' lives better. And we end up creating an instrument to speculate on it sometimes. So we ended up trying to find a way to normalize fees. Many projects out there, or rather a couple projects out there, have created markets allowing users to bank fees or bank gas when it's cheaper and spend it when it's later, or spend it when it's more expensive. And there have been a few different models of this. You can see gas tokens that have been created. And these take advantage of Ethereum storage space rebates, where you can use a bunch of storage space when it's cheap. And in the Ethereum blockchain, there's a mechanism to refund your fees. Now, you might be thinking, this isn't actually doing any more useful work. And yes, that's actually true. But it does allow users to get a little bit more regularized fees if they want to gamble on what they think the gas price might be in the future. So miners, this actually does have some advantages for miners. They can get a little bit more smooth profits. When fees spike, more people will be redeeming these gas tokens. But if they ever have an underutilized period, and if they ever have a period in time where blocks are under capacity, people might choose to bank some of these gas tokens then. and hope the price will more than double later, and then they can cash them in at a profit. People speculate on this. So it does have some benefits. This just optimizes economic impact for user. It also puts a little bit more useless work in the blockchain. And when blocks are more empty, you still have miners competing to fill these, or you have users competing to mine these gas tokens. So this is not really a solution. It's more of a financial instrument that smooths gas out a little bit, but it does have definite benefits. It gives price discovery on gas, and it makes the best of this gas rebate feature of Ethereum. Now, there are some long-term benefits that we can take advantage of. We could use something like a plasma chain. There were implementations in the past. There's some under work by Omise, by Optimistic, roll-ups by Optimistic and Plasma by Omise. There are different strategies for this to do essentially all of them come down to doing a little bit less work on chain and maintaining other state that you can settle back to the main chain when you need to. And systems like this end up offering transaction fees at a small fraction of what they're offered at right now. So while creating a market around gas prices will work in the interim and generate some savings for users, if you really wanted to reduce gas prices and stop users from paying both the very erratic fees and very high fees, a better longer-term solution might be one of these side chains. They're actually starting to come now into mainnet usage. People are starting to roll out trials on them. I would say that they are a fairly new product, but people have been using them and somewhat successfully. So the other thing I wanted to touch on is wallets in the crypto ecosystem. Wallets are pretty complicated. Compared to a modern banking app or payments application, you might enter your email, password, a bunch of identifying information so they can figure out you're not a terrorist. Just all the bits of info they collect on you for compliance or whatever, and you've onboarded yourself to this app. Now, with a wallet, you end up setting one up, or with a crypto wallet rather, you end up setting one up, saving a seed, tracking tokens, finding like a contract hash or searching for a name, transferring money in. It takes a while to actually get your funds in your wallet and start to use blockchain ecosystem. Now, some wallets are a little bit friendlier, some are a little bit less friendly, some offer more features. There's a huge, huge variety. And as well, there's ways to improve on a wallet ecosystem. So for users that have a lot of trouble onboarding, they could use alternative solutions. There are now more and less centralized solutions. Some are linked to SMS, like Fortmatic, or they're Magic now. But they handle text message authentication, hardware security that links to some HSM wallet. It's a cool approach to it. There are systems where you can allow maybe you're more through like a wallet connect system, you can give users the freedom. Maybe they're like a hardcore crypto user, they want a really easy time or a lot of control transacting, or maybe they're a more novice user where they want something a little bit easier. They don't mind if it's centralized. And we can also use some more advanced features around wallets to handle or more advanced approaches to wallets to handle different ways that users may want to recover funds or access funds. And one of the more interesting ones that I'd like to touch on is the a smart contract wallet. So similar to smart contract wallets do go back a while. So one of the famous ones early on that unfortunately did suffer a hack was the Parity wallet, where someone managed to someone on GitHub, I think their handle was DevOps199 or something, and they famously destroyed it on accident. So everyone's wallet, all their tokens got frozen. These wallets offered users a lot more control. Rather than implementing multi-signature sort of native to the chain, like Bitcoin and a few other blockchain products did, Ethereum opted to leave that to developers in the application level or in the smart contract level. And these types of approaches can be used with just many different features. So one of these is a social recovery wallet. So you could have a smart contract that sets a particular active address that's allowed to transact on it. And you can give users some aspect of governance over that. And one of the major features that these are pushing is a system of key recovery. So maybe you have 5 friends, and you say that 3 or 4 of them, if they get together, you can call up 3 or 4 of them, and they can rotate your address. So as you deploy this contract, you might set your address as an active address that's allowed to manage funds. And you could give a few different addresses the ability to manage manage what public key is the active public key. So if you eventually lose your address, you can authenticate yourself to many of your friends. They can log in, or they can send a transaction updating to that new address. Now, in this, you do bear a little bit of risk in that if your 5 friends collude against you, or however many it takes to achieve your the quorum that you set for transactions going through, they could take your money. So these have to be 5 people that you trust somewhat. But it does offer a really nice alternative. You could set up an address where maybe you don't need to have those 12 words on a piece of paper, or even if you lose them, you have a way to recover, or you have a way to contact people that you know and have them rotate your address. So there are ways like this where you can use aspects of smart contracts to give a little bit better UX to people, where they might not have found that before. There are other approaches for these wallets as well. You can have them do more advanced things with money. As you have a payment coming in, you can route them to the correct place. You can also establish limits, similar to a banking app. So if I were to transfer out, try to transfer out 3/4 of all the money that I had, it might be an incident where that were an accident, or I could contact my bank and say, here's how much money I would like to be transferring at a maximum. You now have wallet systems that are capable of doing this. You can set some governance rule on the wallet and say, here's the maximum amount of money that I would like to send. And your wallet will stop you from making a terrible mistake. Or if you find that becomes too little, you can go in and change it. But these are risk systems that have been put in place by centralized finance for a while, and for a reason, because they're helpful to their users. They stop them from doing bad or harmful things to themselves. And they're totally replicable with a smart contract as well. Finally, just with the onboarding, there are different approaches to this, or managing failed transactions. Just ways that users can have a like easier time sending money or onboarding or getting used to the wallet would really go a long way in bringing in those next million users. So if a user is sending money, they could examine a mempool. They could find if their transaction is not likely to go through, or if it's getting stuck and it's really going to take long. You could start to notify users that maybe their transaction isn't going to go through. Maybe they'll need to increase gas. And wallets should probably become a little bit smarter on giving users the right condition for their transaction to become final in a good amount of time. Let's see. So that's actually most of what I wanted to touch on today. I had a couple minutes left, so I just wanted to talk a little bit about Mousebelt, some things that we're doing, and if there's any interest, if anyone here is working on a project that really covers any of these elements, we would love to get in touch and see how we might be able to work together. All right, well, I think that's about all the time that I have here. Thanks, everybody. And yeah, thanks everyone for having me.
Well, thanks for your presentation. We appreciate it. And as you mentioned, they are an accelerator looking for, cool projects. So, feel free to engage with them in the space, around the Discord. There's some big opportunities there. Of course, we're also going to be partnering with many, many accelerators through the ColoradoJam Technology Sandbox and Incubator. So yeah, good times ahead. Galen, thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, John.